Well, I've finally got my hands on the Fish O Mania Winners Champion Trophy, and I'd love to say it's mine, but unfortunately it's not. It's this man, Brad Lucas, Fish O Mania Champion 2025, and we're back on the peg where it all happened to have a little chat with him and find out the tactics and what was going through his mind as he won that big £50,000 cheque. So we'll let him land this fish, and then we're going to get inside his brains and find out what it takes to be the youngest ever Fish O Mania champion.
Hey.
Right, Brad, just imagine 10:30 last Saturday, about to start your first ever Fish O Mania final.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind? Is the nerves?
It was weird because it was very rushed. I mean, I know you get loads of time to set up, but obviously you feel that pressure where you never feel like you're set enough up. So I think if you sat there and thought about it, you'd get more nervous, but I wasn't that nervous, to be fair. I quite enjoyed it, but you just got to take it in. I was still setting up with minutes to go, and then I tried nipping for a wee just before the start, and as I just got off my box, he all in went. So it was very just jumped on my box and just started the match. So yeah, it's a different venue, Westwood. You don't really feel the nerves because they're not big fish. You're not playing fish for a long amount of time. You might lose a few, so you just get your head down. But obviously I had my bank running, he kept me cool, but yeah, it was an amazing feeling. The peg I'd drawn was very deep itself. I'd been on it before, and I've had an angler to my left, so you get one spare peg either side of you, and I had one to my right, so I had more room to my right, and that was where I was going to plan to fish late on. But I thought, because I've been on it before, I had a good left edge. I thought I'll start there, and obviously once them nets come out, they won't want to sit there because of all the disturbance. So I thought if I start there and get a good start, I won't go back there, but it might get a good start. And obviously started on pellets. I knew what depth I wanted to start at, and it was a dream of a start, really.
So the tactics for that first half an hour, we know from the results it was amazing what you caught and stuff. So what was it in terms of what did you feed, what was you fishing on the hook, in depths and stuff like that?
Just exactly this rig here. So starting on mics and expanders, and the reason being it's a negative start. You're fishing over a pile of bait, but you know you can catch F1s, you can catch carp on it, and the whole point of this peg is it's deeper, it holds bigger fish. But because of I felt like I needed to target them carp, I almost didn't want to start on mics and expanders, but because it was a bit of a rush, I thought, you know what, I'll just start on it, and if the big fish are there, you'll catch them. You know, it's the right bait for everything, but I didn't want to be too negative or too positive, so I felt like it's a nice start. I risked it by fishing in a bit deeper water than everyone does. Normally, everyone starts in the mud, shallow water in the edge sort of thing, but I started in quite deep, you know, up to 2.5 foot. The reason being is I feel like anything in this peg, the reason why they're in this area of the lake is because they want to be in that deep water. I've got a small Matrix cad pot on to start with, and that's what I did on the match as well. Don't want to feed loads of bait, more of a trap. And as you can see, I'm just fishing just off the side rather than into the bank. Flick your rig out. We can talk about rigs in a bit as well, but see, holding it nice and still and just pinning it over.
Now during that final, quite a few people, I think Jamie Hughes was one of them, just 2 pegs to your left, wasn't he? And he started across. And I think, like, looking at you and the start that you had, like, do you think your match could have been completely different if you started across? Yeah,
of course it can. I mean, obviously giving that confidence when I started, it's a great boost to almost, well, you settle into your match lovely. A lot of people did start across, and that had been working, but again, like I keep going back to, the peg's very different here. So I wanted, because it's so deep, the fish could almost sit closer and be that bit more confident closer, whereas every other peg, because it's so shallow close in, they almost back away from you. But because I had the depth, I knew that there could be some fish close in.
So first half an hour, did you have a target? In, like, was obviously I've never been in that situation in a final. So are you thinking, I want to make sure I weigh the first half an hour, or did you ever think, oh, I need 4 or 5 kilo? Or
it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, obviously I've not been in the fish show before that match, but when I've always watched it, I always thought, you know, I do wonder how it feels, but I took it as a case of it's a 30-minute match every time. That's all it is. You know, if you can weigh something every 30 minutes and just keep within that gang at the top, I think you put yourself in, you know, a great position. Again, I'm going to feed again.
Yeah, that is an interesting way to look at it. Like, each little section's a 30-minute match.
Yeah.
Opposed to, like, suppose it could be overwhelming when you're thinking about it as a 5-hour match and you've got to catch 50,
Yeah, yeah.
60 kilos.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking I've only got to catch 4 or 5 kilos in half an hour, it's probably...
Like I said, I never had a clue what weight I had come the end. No idea. It's literally a case of, right, how many fish have we got this half hour, or, you know, and you're just trying to keep in with them. And obviously, because I had such a great start, I almost like didn't really have much pressure. I just needed to keep putting fish in my net.
So catching 15 kilo in that first half an hour, you're top of the leaderboard, and I think it was like 6 kilos in front of everybody else. So
Yeah.
at that point, does that add pressure or does it just reduce the nerves?
Again, because obviously I had Harry Bignell as my bank runner and he did a great job, but the one thing we spoke about was just don't almost... He knew what I'd be like. He didn't want to put me under pressure at all. So he never said I was leading. He never said I was leading by X amount. He obviously, after catching that weight, and obviously I know what the weights are like at Westwood, I knew that would be leading, or I thought it might be. I never knew by how much.
How do you pick a bank runner? And obviously Harry's won Fish O Mania. Was that part of it? Was his experience part of why he picked him?
I mean, I'm great mates with Harry and he's a good lad, and obviously he's been in this final on this lake. So since he won it, after the year he won it, it came to Westwood, and he's been in it every year since. So obviously I knew he knew the venue well. I get along with him well. I think that's key. You know, you just want to be chilled out. You never want to be under pressure, and just, if you don't win or you're not doing well, you just have a nice day. And obviously because he'd been on it before and he was good mates with Tom Edwards, and so am I. I knew it was a case of we knew we could have a positive plan. We both fish similar ways, so we almost understand. And it's just nice to have someone there that you don't have to worry about or talk. You know, he understands what I'm like, so it was just very chilled out for me. And I think for my first final, that was massive, to just try and not be nervous. He was great for that. He was just great for every time he caught one. He wasn't like putting pressure on me, like clapping or out like that. It was just a case of, right, yeah, all right, next fish all the time. And I think the key with a bank runner is he's looking around, he's making sure what's going on. If someone changes, like I had 2 great anglers either side. I had Steve Foss to my right, and you know, when he was catching carp across on a slightly different method, he told me what he was doing or what he thought he was doing. And having someone that understands fishing, obviously that, you know, they're able to pass that information to you a bit quicker. They can tell you what's going on. So you just get a better understanding quicker.
And so obviously you had 15 kilo the first hour, 7 kilo the second hour.
Yeah.
Then I think it was 4 kilos.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
So
4 or 5.
I think by this point you're 10 kilos in front, and anyone who knows this venue, who's watched previous finals, like, it's not normal for someone to run away with it, and you're 10 kilos in front after 90 minutes. You must have got a feeling, like I know I did as being like on the bank as a spectator. Could you, even though you didn't know the actual weights, did you feel that from like where you was and like while you was fishing?
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing start, but personally, sat on the box, I was actually quite worried, because yeah, I've had a great start, but I'm looking across and I'm like, I can't see me catching, I can't see me keep catching, because of the big fish, you can't line them up. And I was fishing quite a negative pellet match, so if you didn't just keep potting your bait and it keep going under, there's nothing really to almost give you a chance of getting another run of fish, because obviously you're not loose feeding, so you can't really go back in and get a quick bite. It's always a case of pot your bait, sit over your bait and wait for a bite. And obviously I started to get less and less indications, and I went across on hard pellets, which we'll do shortly.
To me, you're living proof of what happens when you shoot to the stars and the moon. What dreams we may see, what may come and may be. Living the life for me, don't let them get you off your speed. Where you trying to go when the stars now time to glow?
Before we whiz out, shall we just have a quick look at your
that
talk
edge
us
rig.
through the edge rig,
Yeah.
and then the hard pellet rig, just while we've got them out.
So it's nice and simple really. It's a bit negative. So elastic wise, you've got the orange slick 12s to 14s, always using short kits because they're not massive fish. Like I touched on, a small cad pot change to a medium, and then main line just 018. You've got 2 number 9 back shots to hold your rig in position, and then that is a stubby slim and a 0.3. It's nice and positive, and then just down to a nice little almost small, spread out bulk. Just a nice, keep it on a little bit of a curve, because as you're fishing there, as you come away from the bank, it slightly slopes off. So you're almost potting your bait and dragging your rig in. So you want that little bit of a curve, so you can almost lay up the slope if you needed to as well. A nice short 3-inch hook lengths to a size 16s. That'll be the X1s or X2s. Which one's a stronger one?
X1.
X1, there you go. And then that's just to a formal expander. So nice and positive. The 3-inch hook length's key. I think everywhere on here, you just, although even when you're fishing nice and almost lighter and finesse rigs, you still want a 3-inch hook length. You want your last shot really close to the hook. Otherwise it flicks up too much and that's when you start foul hooking fish. So yeah, nice and simple, but also a bit fine as well. And then the pellet rig itself, I mean, today's conditions slightly different. On the day, it was actually quite flat calm. I mean, it wasn't nice weather, but because of the rain, it was quite flat calm. So quite a light float, 0.2 this one. Again, same float, stubby slim. This one's 14 to 16. The reason I fished this on the day was when I went across and fishing feeding 6s, putting an 8 on the hook, I thought everything I was going to catch was going to be a carp. And there are barbel here, and they really pull. So I thought if I fish for carp and maybe catch some barbel, because obviously this was the same rig I was going to turn into my casters, I've got that bit more backbone in that yellow slick to almost pull them. Because obviously you've got someone right there, you don't want to be, you know, it running you around rigged, so a bit stronger. Again, 4 number 10s on that one, because this one's a 0.2. Again, a back shot, bit more lash, just in case that wind picks up. And then again, still a nice fall, but again, 3-inch hook lengths. That's 0.16 to 0.18 mainline again, 0.16 hook length because you stepped up a bit more, and that'll be an X5 to a bait band, and obviously that's for fishing pellets on. Again, 3-inch hook length because of the same reason.
RP my pops, he would've loved this. Blood don't always make someone your family. Thankful for the people that I'm stuck with.
So yeah, so we're going across. So what we're doing, feeding 6s?
Feeding 6s and putting an 8 on the hook, so it's very selective. I want to see if there's carp there or barbel there. So I've got an 8 in the band, and then you're just feeding like, well, in your pot you want at least like 8-10 pellets, but you want to try and feed as little as possible to get a bite on. So cad pot, go a hole in, dunk it so they don't rattle out as best as you can.
Had you fed any bait with a catapult?
Nothing, no.
So you went across there.
Really negative. Yeah. Again, on here, you don't want to be making loads of noise. And because I had that little bit of a margin, obviously I didn't know exactly what it was, but he said you're leading. He says, don't go like rushing into things or blowing your peg up. It's more of a case of just ticking over. So he said you can afford to, even if you go across and don't get a sign, you can afford that little window. So he just said, whatever you do, don't rush into anything. I can just, so
that's good advice, Ray. So he obviously felt like the lead that you'd built up almost gave you a chance to move on to a different line and settle into different tactics.
Yeah, exactly that. So yeah, he never told me what was going on. He did make me aware of, right, you don't have to rush anything now. Don't get giddy. Just chill out. And just go across, basically, tap some bait in and see what happens.
Just so we could cross out everything that's on the bucket. Hey. Trevor, that's my brother, different mother. Both our daddies flying in the sky somewhere above us. Still so much to see.
So that next half an hour, Brad, was a blank for you. So you didn't put anything on the scales, and your what was 10 kilo lead has then been cut down to 5 kilos. Was there any panic setting in anywhere?
It was frustrating because it, obviously, again, the good thing was I never quite knew exactly what was going on. I never knew who was catching me up. I never knew exactly the lead I had. But I knew after blanking, after half hour, only 2 hours in, it got a bit panicky. But again, it was like, you're still getting a very odd sign. But the annoying thing was, Steve caught me up. And Steve had a big 7 kilo weigh and I caught nothing.
Looking at the weights, you had a blank period, then you weighed 1 kilo.
Yeah, and that was 1 fish.
And Bob, at that point, I think young Harry, who was on peg 8, I think he was.
Round that
he's chucked like 8.5 kilos.
8.5 kilo he had, yeah.
And suddenly he was, I think he was in second, like 3 kilos behind you at this point.
I believe I had 29 something, he had a low 27, so yeah, he definitely shot well up. And well, I mean, for the cameras, I'm sure it was great to see, but it was worrying for me because it got to a bit like people are starting to catch now and I can't get a bite. Like, it got to a point where Harry came to me and he was like, we can't get a sign. And Steve's catching, Andy's getting an odd sign, foul looking fish, and it felt like my peg had just totally almost died. Like, maybe spent a little bit too long on this, but this is when it all started to change. Harry came over and he was like, right, not joking now. We're getting no signs. There's no fish in the peg whatsoever. They're both catching. It was a case of there's still fish in the area, just not in my peg. So it was a case of we need to make noise, we need to draw some fish in. Again, like I said, we didn't rush. We tried catching on pellets, different depths, coming deeper. But at the end of the day, that lead is almost gone.
Yeah, I think, I mean, at this point, bear in mind I'm here.
No, you were here the whole day.
Supporting the Matrix anglers, so we've got yourself, we've got Jamie Hughes, we've got Callum Dix, we've got Harry Michael, we've got Kerry Kirkwood, we've got 5 Matrix anglers in the final. At this point, Matrix are first, second and third. I'm like, I'm loving life. I'm like, this is brilliant. And so Harry was up there, Kerry was fishing a really nice steady match. He was fishing short on like a 5 metre line. And he never, you've had a big weight of 16 kilos and Harry's had a big, nearly 9 kilos. And Kerry just kind of ticked over.
Yeah,
he didn't have an amazing weight where he's flown up, but he's just really consistent. He just kept putting fish in the net.
Was that when they both caught up? Steve and Kerry?
So at this point, so you've had a blank, you've had a kilo weight and a kilo weight, and all of a sudden the 10 kilo leads pretty much disappeared, and you're not catching.
No.
And then Steve Openshaw on peg 25, I think he put 10 kilos on the scales.
That's amazing.
And then everyone, and you'd in an hour and a half, you'd put 2 kilos in the net.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That lead's gone.
Steve shot up, and all of a sudden everyone was like, "What's happened?" And you've dropped from leading it to I think 3rd place.
Really?
3rd or 4th place, and I must admit, from being on the bank, I was like, "It's not your day today."
No, totally.
Because you just could not catch. I was walking around. It's as I say, Kerry was putting fish in the net consistently, just ticking over. Harry was catching some fish, and then Steve, who's on a peg that everyone fancied anyway, when someone
started to catch it quite early, you think it was.
And he sticks 10 kilos on the scales, and I think I was along with a lot of other people who was on the bank and just thought, I just can't see it happening.
Away now.
Yeah,
it felt like that. It
so
really
what
did
you do? So obviously you just touched on it there that you and Harry kind of knew you had to do something. Those around you was catching. So was that the point when did he tell you that you'd lost the lead, and what did you do then to try and sort it out?
I think I remember the only thing I remember from it was flipping net. Harry Michael just had 8.5 kilo. I'm like, oh wow, and don't forget he had Andy Bennett one side of him, so I thought if some fish were feeding around there, I thought it's not just Harry that's going to be catching there. Obviously I can't see a leaderboard, so I'm thinking, has Andy caught 7 kilo as well? Or so what I'm just going to quickly try some mud as we talk. But yeah, like you say, it was honestly, Harry just said, right, you've lost your lead now, and I could tell it wasn't good. His face was like, you've really lost the lead now, and I knew Steve started to catch. And that's the thing, when you hear anglers like that on good pegs or informed pegs, honestly, I was sat there thinking, yeah, but I can't see me getting another bite. I know that sounds daft, but that's the sort of feeling I felt was, yeah, that's great, I need to catch, but where am I going to catch? I didn't know where to catch. I didn't know what was right. Felt like there was nothing in my peg. Now, don't get me wrong, I had lots of casters. Casters work, and casters could be good, but during that quiet period, it flew by, and I didn't want to rush into anything. Look at that, straight away. I didn't want to rush into anything. I didn't want to feed casters too early. I felt like pellets could be good. We all thought pellets were a better match. You foul look a lot less. You don't get too many fish in your peg, but you've got to remember, it's like you're in a Fish O Mania final, you're letting 50 grand slip away from you. You've got to do something. And Harry came up to me and was like, you need to change. This is never going to win. So we started to change, and we changed arguably on perfect time. What we first did, we started by potting casters via a cat pot, via a cad pot, making noise from a height, rattling casters in consecutively, constantly doing it. There's a tail up there, and that's what they were doing on the day, tailing up.
The comments afterwards, after you'd won, people was like, oh, you deserve it because of all the effort you put in everything out. But I know what you do on a week-to-week basis, but I don't think there's a lot of people watching this will understand just how much time and effort you put into your fishing. So just in terms of this year, just give us a little idea. how many matches you've fished this year, how much you've spent chasing qualifiers, how many miles you've done chasing qualifiers. Just like winning Fish O Mania doesn't like happen overnight. It's literally like you put so much time and effort into it.
It's amazing. Like, I can't express, you know, the feeling of, like I keep saying, it hasn't set in yet. But you go home and you've got your trophy in front of you in your bedroom, or I've got my check in my shed, and you just sit there for a moment and think, 20 years old, I've not been fishing many years, and I've dreamt to winning Fish O Mania. You know, it's been the biggest dream. It's always, you know, yeah, Maver and Golden Reel are amazing, massive finals, and I'm lucky to be in them, but the feeling of being in a Fish O Mania finals, just, there's nothing quite like it, and to be lucky enough to win it on my first year, it was amazing. And like you say, it doesn't come easy, but I think qualifier wise, I reckon, well, I spoke to someone yesterday, and we worked it out. Unless you're lucky and you qualify early, on average, if you fish, like, I can't remember what we worked it out to be, but if you fish a lot and you fish, last year I fished nearly 50 qualifiers, and this year probably the way it's going, similar. Say you fish 50 qualifiers, it's £200 a match, including your tickets and your fees and your bait. That's 10 grand. Yeah. And that's just on qualifiers. Festivals are the ones that you know that take a lot of money. You know, you're talking the Daiwa Pole Masters. I fished 4 white acres this year, maybe 5, 4 I'll fish. You know, they're thousands, and you know, don't get me wrong, I'm lucky enough to fish a lot, and through the summer it's pretty much what I do, but you're waking up at 5, 6 o'clock, 6, 7 days of the week, you're travelling 200 miles a day on average. It's just to try and sometimes go in the bag and go, you've got absolutely no chance of winning 4 days of the week. You know, it can be awful, and I think credit, I've only done it for a few years, credit to the likes of Pollard, Jamie, you know, they do it week in, week out, year in, year out for 10 years. It's amazing, and like I always say, if you want to beat them, you're going to have to put more effort in them, and that's hard, and that really is hard, but it takes a lot of money, a lot of time, and when you get your name on a trophy like that, you just sit there and go, you do it all again for that feeling. Just amazing. That would be mint, really nice.
Where you trying to go? When the stars out, time to glow. As we live through the highs and lows, what dreams we may see, may come and may be. Living a life for me. Don't let them.
Like, your dad's obviously a massive fan,
of
a big
course.
supporter, but
you can't do it without the parents.
yeah, this is it. But obviously, because of your age, you must have had like a lot of support from them over the last few years.
Yeah.
As well.
I mean, personally, I only started match fishing when I was 15. And
that's
that was
scary, how good you are.
and that was at Woodlands. So Craig Kent runs Woodlands, and Dave Marshall. They're the sort of two people that kept me in fishing, and look at that one pulled the leggy out. You know, and kept me in fishing and gave me a chance, really. You know, at such a young age. Well, I say young, it's not really young to get into fishing. You know, I was a lot younger than me, but it got me into fishing. It kept me in fishing. Craig looked after me there. I weighed in all the time, and obviously my dad took me 3 days a week for 2 years, and then I think when I was 18, that's when I started to do qualifiers all around the country. Didn't take me to quite as many as I do now, but flipping out, fair play to him. He took me to a lot, and you've got to. That's the best way to learn, is to get beat by these full-time anglers and learn. And I was going to so many different venues within a space of a year. I almost learnt what you would in 2, 3, 4 years, because you're going to so many different venues. You know, on the Monday you're catching F1s, on the Tuesday you're catching carp. You're doing something different all the time, and that's credit to my dad. You know, when I was 18, he took me everywhere, and then 19, I took myself. This year I've taken myself as well. So yeah, it's definitely my dad that, you know, that put the miles in, but you know, it's a credit to yourselves and Matrix and everyone that makes it possible to be able to keep doing it all the time.
Yeah, I think, like, you touched on something that's quite important there, and I think I've spoken to quite a few juniors who have like entered for the UK champs and stuff, and they've asked, like, why didn't I get selected and stuff like that, and like the advice I give to them, like, is to fish against adults.
Yeah,
and it's
100%.
daunting, and you're probably chucking a bit of money away, and it is expensive.
Yeah, of course you are.
Like, you learn so much.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know, if you're serious about it and you've got parents that support you massively, you get the money back. You know, if you invest time and effort, you do get rewarded. You really do. It's like anything in life. You put effort in, and you will get it back, whether it's a year, 5 years, 10 years. You know, and it's great winning club matches and things like that. And I always say to people when they ask for serious advice, like, done a few lives recently and get loads, and it's a common question. I think you've got to get yourself out there as quick as you can. Obviously, no, you're not going to win straight away, but it's the quickest way to success. It's the quickest way to learn, and it's amazing. Like you said, you know, to be as lucky as I am, to be as good as I am at 20, it seems as though it's 3-4 years, but that's a lot of fishing in 3-4 years. You know,
especially the amount that you do. Yeah.
You know, it's a lot, but it's almost. I look back now and I think, it didn't even take that long. But throughout the time, it's like, when am I ever going to do this? And then all of a sudden, I look back now and I'm like, flipping it, that's gone quick.
Yeah. Tell you what, before you whiz that back out, should we have a look at that rig? I'm dying to see this caster fishing.
Yes, let's get straight onto that. That'll be great. So the rig itself, I mean, again, mudline fishing, so it's quite simple. The only thing is they have taken a little, well, the water's actually drained a little bit since Fish O Mania, so the depth's a bit different. But again, a large cad pot, just taking little holes out so it releases a bit quicker. The large, and then I've got, again, 12 to 14. The reason being, as you say, every time you hook one, they shoot out. So you want to, like, if you use that yellow, don't get me wrong, you could be catching the biggest fish in the peg, but when you catch them, like you can see now, they're very scatty. So as soon as you hook one, they're shooting off. If you had a little bit heavier elastic, every time you hook one, you tend to follow it round and then you might bump a few, whereas with this orange, it's so soft yet powerful. You can hook them, ship back, and it can dart off, yeah? You're not having to follow it, so it's easy to ship back on. So that's the reason I use that. Again, 018 mainline, it's just durable. Got a 0.4 mud line, a back shot to keep it in position, and then a really nice, simple bulk of 5 number 8s to, again, a 3-inch hook length. Again, you want to be nailing your bait right over a pile of bait. Again, to a 16s X1. So really nice and simple, but positive again.
And then this caster
rig. And then the caster rig, this was the damage rig. Now, it's like very positive. The thing is with this, you get in, like I said, when I first started, I just did that, just used the large, but with the extension in it. Called it an extension, couldn't you? A little bit chopped out pot, so it's a bit wider.
Release it a little bit quicker.
Yeah, just to release it a bit quicker, so you're not tapping it for ages. You can almost turn it over and it just falls out. But obviously you have that lip, so when you're shipping out, it doesn't all fall out. Yeah. Again, 12 to 14, because you might be catching F1s. The fish are shooting off everywhere, a bit softer, yet still powerful enough. And then again, 018, 2 number 9 back shot. And this is the key bit. So yeah, you're fishing casters and maggots on the hook, and you might catch F1s and it's delicate, yet on Westwood, it's totally different. You want to be really positive. So I've got a 0.4 stubby slim, and that's just straight down to a bulk, top of a 3-inch hook length. Now on this rig, at times I was laying on. As it plumbs up, it's not nice and flat. You know, it comes up a bit, comes up a bit. So your rig could be 3, 4, 5 inches over depth at times, but all you're doing is you're lifting it, laying it in all the time. And you're not laying it in for a nice slow fall or anything, because again, you've got 5 number 8 back shot. It's straight down, but what I like to think is every time you lift your bait, the maggots are getting kicked up. And obviously, because they're trying to dig for your bait, when they see something kicked up, they take it and they snatch at it all the time. Like the amount of times you lift up and then your float rises, you go to relift and there's one on. It's because they've just picked it up and carried on feeding, and then there's one in the mouth. And that's because the constant lift and drop. It's not because of the slow fall, bulk and on. It's literally a case of that 3-inch just does that. As if like you're overshot and you know that kick of the bait, and that's what makes them take it. So yeah, bulk, another 3-inch hook length, again, strong. And this one's got 14s hook, so that bit bigger, a bit stronger.
You just said maggots then, so
maggots on the hook.
Okay, so you're feeding casters and fishing.
Yeah, because obviously when you look at casters, they're from white maggots, so you still get a lot of white casters, don't you? You get a lot of white caster maggots. So I think with maggots, they're visible. White's visible. They see it a bit better. It's light hook bait, so you can get away with it being a little bit slow fall. They just snatch at it, it's easy. Obviously, sometimes if you're laying on and you're holding it for carp, you can fish a worm, a full worm, and that's when you sat. But when I thought there was a lot of F1s in the peg or a lot of fish I needed to catch the eye, I felt like a white visible and almost quite a light hook bait. 3 maggots is nothing on a 14s, but when they take it, it's in, and it stays in. So yeah, maggots on the hook really, just nice and visible. But yeah, simple rig. Positive though, that's the key thing. It's got to be heavy.
Yeah, I think
ship out on this.
Let's see if we can catch some fish. And yeah, should we do exactly what we did in the final? We can obviously get back to what weights and stuff was catching. So at this point, you're let's get back on track. So you had a couple of small ways. You'd lost the lead, and it was
it was, last moments. It was like really push the peg now.
Yeah, so you've decided to go onto this caster line.
Yeah.
Starting potting.
But just half hour before that, before the big weigh, was when I first went on it.
Right.
But I started to pot on it. I didn't start loose feeding straight away because, again, you don't want to blow your peg. So if we skip back slightly, half hour, this is when I first went onto this line. Let me find my mark. Take that off. There we are. And obviously having a mark's key. Marking your pole or finding a depth for your section, like your joints and things like that, that's really key because you want to be accurate all the time. So again, look, tapping it from a bit of a height. I'm making noise, but over a small area. And when you tap your bait in from a height, you're just creating noise all the time, like that, look, spook straight away. And you've got constant fall of bait. So it's a nice positive rig. And when I first did this, I never drew the amount of fish that I wanted to draw back into my peg. So that's why, skip forward another 20 minutes, that's when I started to pick up a catapult. So as you can see, my float's lifted up because it plumbs up horrible like that. That's why it's so useful to constantly keep laying it, just in case you, look, another swill straight away as soon as I relayed my float. And you got that quite a bit. You got quite a few tails up on the mud just like that. But especially when you started to loose feed, was because when you're loose feeding, you're actually loose feeding onto the mud line. So then carp were coming up, sucking off that, and then all of a sudden they'd stop. As you can see, your float's constantly moving. Even though you've got a big positive float, it's constantly moving. But you don't mind that because, again, you're constantly relaying it.
Is this why, like you said, people prefer to fish pellets because
this doesn't happen?
Yeah.
Because you're feeding such little bait with pellets, they don't get bothered by it too much. They just come in, eat your bait, and then that's almost it. It's never quite as easy as that, but it is. You've almost got a clean peg all the time, but as you can see, constantly lifting and dropping it, because that's when I feel like you get your bites. So again, I've had a load of signs up straight away. Now I've hardly got a sign. So that can mean either two things. One, they've got the head down, or two, the fish have left your peg. See that little bite then straight away?
That was just dink.
That just shows, like, again, my float never flew under 1,000,000 miles an hour. It was just a nice little sharp dink, and maybe my float was laid on an inch or two, and I don't mind that because you're only looking for a sharp dink. So I was literally just going to come back then and refeed because I felt like there wasn't anything in my peg. But that just shows I got the heads down, went quiet, and then you got a bite. And that's literally just one pot of casters. It's amazing how it's changing. And luckily, it's changed it straight away today. It just shows when it's right. Oh, carp, that one, I thought it was F1. And these are the fish you caught on the day. It makes a massive difference, that stamp. Got him, look. That's 1.5 kilo fish. He's £3. Definitely over 1 kilo at least. So we'll repeat that process, but that just goes to show exactly how much of a change it actually has.
I think a lot of people who do fish here, and you saw it in the Fish O Mania final, it's kind of the nature of the beast.
Yeah, of course it is.
You lose a lot of fish. Yeah. How do you cope with that? I've fished open matches on here, and it's bad enough then when you're losing fish. When you're fishing for £50,000 and a couple of fish come off, how do you keep your head?
Like you just said, it is the nature of the lake. You know you're in for it before you fish, and I think that makes it a bit better because if you just tell yourself everyone you hook you lose, you don't feel pressured when you're playing fish, and because it's common for people to lose fish, and there's lots of fish getting played at the same time as you are, there's not loads of cameras on you every time you hook a fish because it's rare. It's a regular thing. So it's just a case of every time you hook one, you go, right, is it foul hooked? Is it going to come up right? Comes off right, ship straight back in. You're not like, oh gosh, this is the first fish I've caught in half hour, it's £10, and you feel, oh, it's come off, and you gutted because you might not get another chance. You are. It's literally a case of just ship your rig in, be quick. Every time you hook one, like late on, it was a case of hook one, just ship back quick because as soon as they start darting off, they can get tangled, or they can just, if you let them run, they'll run. And you just need to be positive. You've got to be confident, and that's why having the correct rig gives you a chance to, catch them in the mouth more times than not.
I think the speed thing there you mentioned is quite interesting because, I think it was mentioned on the TV coverage how quick you were. Do you think that you lose the same amount of fish whether you're slow or quick? So you might as well be quick and just speed the process up.
I don't think it's. I just think it's confidence. I think if you hook one, And then like you wait, oh, is it foul hooked, or shall I go let it run, let it, like, don't get me wrong, if the fish is going to go, you've got to follow it out. Look at that lift straight up. But I just think if it's going to come off, it's going to come off. If you get a whack and it's in the mouth and you've hooked it with a 14's hook on, if that's in the mouth, one, it shouldn't break, it shouldn't bottom you out, because there's no fish in here that big enough, a very odd one. God knows. I don't even know where he's gone.
This is
Would you like to explain?
yeah, what's happened is this is a Fish O Mania champion who, as soon as he lands a fish over £2, his head goes and yeah.
Oh no!
He's lost it.
Oh
He's lost
no,
it.
big barbel! Oh, what a shame. So, if they're in the mouth and you give them a good strike, and like, you look where it is, yeah, right, in the mouth, just shit back quick. If it does need to run, you've got all that behind you to give it. Whereas if you just, as soon as you hook it, if you wait around, and then it bolts off, you've got no, like, behind you to give. Whereas as soon as you hook it, if you quick get back, it tells you what it wants to do. If it comes straight in, you can just carry on shipping. If it doesn't, you've got half a pole behind you to follow it out before it's even realised it's maxed out your elastic.
So feeding the casters, this is how, the volume that you're feeding now, is this
Yeah.
how many you've had on the day?
I did, I'd probably feed a bit more, but this wind, I don't want to, obviously with the wind, you don't want to, I'd rather feed 2 nice ones than feed 4 and 2 of them go everywhere and 2 of them go nice. So I'm trying to wait for the wind to break, but on the day it was much nicer. But yeah, it was a case of like feed at your float, not really bothered too much where it goes, like that, look, because what I like to think is when you feed your bait, if you don't get signs now, drop down. If you start getting signs, start getting in mouth, perfect. If you start far looking them, come up. And obviously because you're feeding over a metre, because you can't feed that accurate anyway, still accurate, but you're still feeding, you know, because of the depth difference.
It's not like potting it in.
It's not like potting it in. So they'll tell you what depth they want to be in, and obviously on the day, this was the best depth.
You did, when obviously you've made a change, it's worked, like you've gone back into the lead. Did Harry tell you that he was back in front?
I joked to him, and I was like, I remember it as day, and obviously I have watched it back, and like you said then, I do remember watching it, and when I watched it back, they were all talking there, and they never knew I'd caught, and I remember the leaderboard come up on the sky when I watched it back, and it was like, oh wow, everyone just went, wow, Brad Lucas, you know, that massive way, and I said to Harry, he was like, what do you reckon you got? I says, I don't know, and he was like, do you reckon you got 10 kilo? I says, nah, not quite. And then he hooked one and he went, you got 10 kilo? I said, I might have 10 kilo now. He says, mate, you'll be back in the lead with 10 kilo. And that's when he started to get, you know what Harry's like, he was getting a bit nervous on the day. And he was like, no, you still got this, you've still got a chance. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. Obviously, again, I didn't know the results, so it was a bit hit and miss. But when I weighed in, I heard 12 kilo something. And he looked at me and he went, 12 kilo that? I went, and I was playing one as well. So obviously, we had a little tactic where we only wanted one net in the water, because I had a line here, I didn't want to be lifting 2 nets out, and he stopped halfway through, he started taking me nets that way once I'd finished with that line, and there's a little bit of that you just give yourself a bit more confidence. But it was more of a case of like, pass me another net, he was putting fish back, I need that other net, he was like, have you got one? I was like, yeah, so I chucked one in there, like a 3-pounder, so I had like 12 kilo, one in the net already straight away. And the good thing was with that little spell, they weighed me in really quick. I don't, for whatever reason, because obviously they didn't think I'd caught, but like I said to you earlier, sometimes when that klaxon goes every half hour, you might wait 5 minutes to get weighed in, so it's not quite true every half hour, but this one was bang on half hour, and I had 12 kilo in that spell, so if I'd have got on, I might have had another 15 kilo spell. And obviously I caught one, Harry put the fish back, I went and spoke to them, because he interviewed him straight away, and I caught another one, so I caught 2 really quick after that as well. And then the rain started to come a bit heavier and it started to go a bit iffy, and then it stopped. But I did the second way. I mean, what did I have away after that?
7 kilos that next one was.
I had like 20 kilo in an hour, so I've caught another 45 pound back. And so don't get me wrong, it was very hit and miss my day. It wasn't quite plain sailing, but I had that 7 kilo and it started to slow down. But I think I caught a few F1s, because I don't remember slowing down. I think I carried on catching.
Just
quite nice,
fish.
but just unfortunately, coincidentally, had like 2-3 F1s or whatever in that way.
Yeah, and Harry had slowed down by this point. He'd stopped catching.
Yeah.
Callum, I think Callum had kind of copied what Kerry was doing, and I think he like took a few fish off Kerry because he came on that short line, and I think it slowed Kerry down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Steve was catching, and I think we're at the point now where we're almost going into that last hour.
Yeah. So
it'd been
after
weighing
that,
number.
just before that 7 kilo, we've gone into the last hour. haven't we?
Yeah. So, and then I think with half an hour to go, like that, the weighing number 9. I think you weighed about 4 kilos then.
So I had a 12, a 7, then with an hour to go I had a 4, didn't I?
Yeah, and
Steve had a 7
Steve
though,
had
didn't he?
7, yeah. So that gap was certainly like reduced again.
Yeah.
And I think it was about 4 kilos in it or something.
I think he closed it down to 2.3
that was it, yeah.
kilo, wasn't it?
Yeah, with
We
half
just
an hour to
spoke
go.
about
Yeah,
that.
but like what I remember from that last half an hour, and you talk about the timings of weigh-ins and stuff like that, like you was quite late weighing in.
Yeah.
And you did catch like looking at it, you didn't catch a fish in that last half an hour, but from being behind you, the klaxon went to say
It was at least 5.
It was at least 5, 6, 7 minutes before the weighed you in, and you actually caught a fish and when it went in your net. So
Yeah,
you weighed
because,
that 4
again,
kilos.
I only had 1 net in.
Yeah,
So
and it went in there. So you did catch in that last half an hour, but
Yeah.
you didn't have anything for that last weigh-in.
yeah,
And that rain, like I think we need to mention
that
the rain.
was ridiculous.
Honestly,
Did it do me a favour? Did it not? I mean, I slowed down and had a 4 kilo. Like I said, I had a 12 and a 7 and I caught everyone up, so I caught more. But then again, with this peg, because of the stamp of fish, I stopped again. I had a 4. Steve was just ticking over. If that rain hadn't have come, would Steve have put another 7 on the net? And would have I only caught 4 again? You know, it was like that, wasn't it? But
yeah, and you could feel the tension. You was fishing that far line, the rain was horrendous, and you come off that, and like I stood there at the back then, I was like, is this like a desperate attempt? Because you come down on a top kit, didn't you?
yeah, because the thing is with this peg, because it's so deep, quite close to you, you want to get out that silt. That's why everyone fishes like a top kit and 1. But on my peg, it's rock hard here. Now, don't get me wrong, I never caught one on this line. I foul hooked a few, but had that rain not be there, I do think I'd have caught there. But because of the rain, when you throw your bait, like this is the difference between Kerry. Kerry had competing fish already. He had fish competing on that bottom of the shelf. Steve was fishing in his edge, so he's got a pot of bait on the bottom, fish are regularly coming in. With me, because I was catching so well across, I never fed my edges. Obviously, I didn't want to go that way because there's so much disturbance. And I did say to Terry, should I feed that? He's like, no, you're still catching, keep going, keep going. I was catching, so there's no time to feed. And then with that half hour to go, I literally couldn't see my float. The rain was that bad, I could not see me float across. And it was just a case of like, you're lifting all the time, and I foul hook 2, and I'm like, I'm just ruining my peg now. What about if that rain stops with 10 minutes to go? I might get one. So I thought, I've been throwing that for an hour, so I thought I'd drop back in there. And obviously when you're dropping in, I'm relying on throwing bait. So when I'm throwing my bait, it's probably 2.5 foot deep there. And it was probably there, and my net's here, so there's a bit of gap. I'm throwing my bait, and my float's just doing that. And rather than sat there and getting a bite, because of the rain, when they throw your bait, they're finding it rather than looking down at the right depth. That's why you foul hook so many, because they're not settling over your bait, you see, because of the rain, they can't hear it. And it was the same across, foul hooking across, and that rain, because it was really heavy, it actually spoiled it for me, because like I said just then, when you're loose feeding, it's not the same. You're not fishing over a bed of bait, whereas Kerry and Steve carried on catching a few fish, didn't they?
It was that last half an hour and well, the last like 10 minutes. I know you dropped on that short line and you've failed up.
I was praying for it to stop that rain.
Honestly, like I was behind you, and Harry was. He was so nervous. Like you could just see every time you lost a fish, his head was in his hands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, he moved himself away from you. He moved right back to the rope, and I think he didn't want to give that
that nervous
that
to
desperation to you. But
this feels big. I think that's when it settled in a little bit, when he was so bothered. Oh, that was a great scoop. But yeah, I remember he was sat there and I'm catching, and then he's not bothered me all day. Let's not forget that. He's been absolute class all day. And then he's like, Brad, you need 1 fish, just catch what? And I'm like, what? And he's like, because we'll talk about his little mistake. I mean, he was that giddy. He didn't want to go on his phone. He wanted to stay focused to me. Just unhook this one. He wanted to stay focused. Lovely, I found that, Craig.
very nice fish.
But yeah, he wanted to stay really focused to me, but he didn't really look at his phone, and I was like, right, come on then, because like, if it goes under, it goes under. We've settled on what we're doing. We can't fish in the edge. We know what we're doing. So it's a case of just tell me where we're at. And he's like, you're a kilo ahead. It's like, you're a kilo ahead. And then all of a sudden, clapping. And he's got one, guarantee he's got one. And I'm like, he's like, right, you just need one fish and you'll beat him, you know, because he's one ahead maybe, or he's just ahead. It's like, just catch one fish. And I'm like, right, and he's gone. Then, like I said, on that line, I've dropped him because I can't really catch there, hoping that they'd settled, dropped in, foul up one, and he's like, everyone's, obviously when you're shipping back with a half hour to go, the more you look, let's not forget the rope was there, and the more you look, it's like this umbrella 10 deep from there all the way to there, and it's just, there's hundreds of people, there's a camera literally right there, and I'm sat there, and there's a camera there, and I'm like, please go under, please go under, and it's like, oh, it's foul up again, and it didn't even bother me, because obviously, he caught one quite quick, did Steve, and I thought, right, he's ahead. You've lost 50 grand at this current time. If you catch one, you've got a chance of winning 50 grand. And then I fouled a few more, and every time I looked at them, I was like, yeah, and I lost it, no, and everyone's, and then Big Nose pacing up and down, and I'm like, I just sat there and I was like, I pray I don't hear another clap. And then, like, obviously the all out came, don't get me wrong, I think I fouled quite a few, 3 or 4, but it's like hook, come off. So it didn't bother me. I genuinely thought, hand on my heart, I genuinely thought I had not won.
That's just what it comes with. Make it to the top with the ones that I came up with. Just so we could cross out everything that's on the bucket. Hey. Trevor, that's my brother, different mother. Both our daddies flying in the sky somewhere above us. Still so much to see that's undiscovered.
I think this one fouled. So.
And then how did you, obviously, you didn't have anything to weigh.
No.
What did make me laugh was the fact that you got your net out just to make sure.
And they were like, no, wait. And I'm like, no, there's nothing in the net. And he's like, yeah, wait, thinking there was. And I was joking. And the lady was there, I was like, no, there's nothing to weigh.
Yeah, they've got the scale set up and everything.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone believed you.
No one believed me, because I thought they might have thought, no, I have like nothing as in you say that. Do you know what I mean? But I genuinely have. I was like, Harry, can you just show them there's nothing in that net? And then they're waiting to weigh me in. And then, oh, wait, he's got no fish. I'm like, no, I know I've got no fish. I told you that. But I mean, it goes so quick, unfortunately. You genuinely forget what happens. But I think it was a case of like, you sat there and you're waiting and you're seeing your family or you're seeing your friends and you're having a laugh. And then you just hear like, I can't remember which way, which came first or how they realised, but everyone cheered here and everyone was clapping for Steve, like unfortunate over there. And you just get that feeling that.
Yeah, there's just a little bit of a buzz all of a sudden. And it's just like.
Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah, that rain was still coming absolutely ridiculous. I was desperate to get photos of like your reaction to your winning.
You got some great
I'm snapping away. The rain's absolutely pouring. Trying to keep it off with a bait umbrella. There's like, then everyone like your dad's in and like all your family's there and everything. It's mega like just being there.
Yeah.
For that, and then obviously it's shoes off and then you get.
I said to her, I was like, is it, because obviously last year gave you a bit of a horror and everyone was like, no, you won it. I'm like, is it official? Is it official? About 100 times. She's like, no, it is official. I was like, all right. So I'm off then, crocs off. Harry looked at me, I was like, come on, let's go. And then, jumped in just about here. And then, I don't know who got him in, but Stu started taking his jacket off, and obviously my dad jumped in with me, so yeah, that was an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah, it was
a day to remember, that's for sure.
Yeah. So what's it feel like after? Because in the moment, like there's so much buzz, and then like you're rushing over there, you're up there getting your trophy, and then there's obviously Angling Trust want to speak to you, Angling Times want to speak to you. I was trying to get a few bits done with you on the bank after the match and stuff like that, and it's like there's so much going on. You're so keen, but I can remember you saying it's like I don't know if it's come cold or just like excited.
Oh, it was warmer in there than it was out here, but then when you got out, I was shaking, but I was like, I have no clue what that shaking is. But it was amazing. I mean, all credit to Steve. He's a great bloke, and I respect him highly. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing to get over the line. But that feeling was just like, you just don't believe it's true. At 20 years old, you don't think it's possible. Like, I've grown up watching Fish O every year. It was my first year in it. I just wanted to try and enjoy it. And then, all the way through the match, you've got half a chance of winning it. And then when you do, obviously, you're facing forward the whole time. You never really get the atmosphere. So it's like you get off your box and 10 minutes of madness. And then it's like, right, let's go home. But yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. And so like the next day, what did you do that night first?
Night,
I was expecting a big party. Well,
the thing is, you say stuff and you don't really realise you've said anything. So obviously I was joking about saying, oh yeah, I said to me missus, I said, oh yeah, we'll go out in Leeds or whatever if we win or whatever. then we both got back and we were absolutely knackered. It was like, oh, we'll just go for something to eat. So we went for an ice Indian, had a few drinks, and then it got home and I was absolutely knackered. Straight to bed. And then Sunday was just, oh, my phone blew up, as it probably does. It was ridiculous. I genuinely had thousands of messages. It was amazing from people across the world. It was, it's such a nice feeling. And then replied to as many as I can, put a little post out, and then it was just a case of I can't remember what I did. I think I went out. I went for some Sunday dinner. I remember going to Sunday dinner and the guy...
Did they make you pay?
Oh, yeah, I paid, yeah. No, so I offered to pay. I went out with my missus' family and I paid for that, which was nice. And then I remember going to the bar to get drinks for everyone. And he went, I recognise you from somewhere. And obviously it's like a sports bar thing.
Yeah.
And I had all the Sky on. He was like, what did you do yesterday? I was like, oh, well, I says, all right, you might have seen me on TV if you had it on. He was like, I do remember it. Yeah. And he watched this. They had apparently there was a few anglers in the bar and they said that they had it, like they had it on towards the end. So yeah, it was just crazy. Like I've had so many like messages, or when you go to a fishery afterwards, like obviously I fished yesterday, I fished Wednesday, come here today, and you walk in the shop and it's just amazing. You're like, Fish O just changes it for you. You just get more recognition and it's just ridiculous. And obviously that hopefully carries on for the foreseeable. But yeah, I mean, the next few days afterwards, just trying to get to grips with it, and it still hasn't. It doesn't feel. You just carry on. I mean, you know how much fishing we do, so. Just in case, carry on fishing. And
so what's next?
Obviously, the bonus is you're in next year's final. So that'll save me quite a lot of miles. But I don't know, just try and enjoy it. But next year, I'd love to do the double. But that's something big. But you never know.
I think Andy's done it back to back.
Andy Bennett did it back to back. 2019 and 20, didn't he? And Harry won it. Yeah, it'll be great to do a double. But I think Jamie's record would be an impressive one. Try and win more than 3, but knowing him, he's probably going to win 5 in his time.
Well,
so
this is like
gonna have to
Jamie's like winning for a few years, but you wouldn't bet against him winning like the next 2 or 3. And
no, you wouldn't. That bit of luck, rub of the green, you could win 2 in a row, quite nicely. But it's a lot of effort, a lot of hard work. But hopefully next year it sets you up for a great year because you're already in one final, so you can focus on other matches. Obviously, I need to qualify for the rest yet this year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But fingers crossed by this time this video comes out, I'm in another. But
what you got left? A few more.
I think I've got 4 or 5 Mavers and Golden Reels each. So I'm going to try getting one, but it'd be nice. And then obviously Fish North, one quite close to home, so I'd always like to try to get back into that. But I always leave that late because I put these ones first. But just got to keep enjoying it.
That's the main thing. It's like you've obviously had an amazing year so far. You've won the biggest prize there is to win, and obviously winning this beautiful thing here, and the check that goes with it.
What dreams are made of it is, as a kid, like growing up, it's just amazing to win that. Thank you,
amazing. Hopefully you've all seen this video and obviously enjoyed the story.
Hopefully
it's an amazing story, and hopefully just the beginning.
Hopefully, we'll have 2 next year, hopefully.
Can I keep this on?
Yeah, probably, You'll probably steal it.
Where you try to go when the stars out, time to glow. As we live through the highs and lows.